who works with and who works for is a far less important question than the fact that we have common goals, that we really do want.
Just lost you again, Calvin.
Back.
Yeah, now you're back.
Okay.
Now you're back.
We do want the same things. We want students to be successful, all students to be successful, and we want students to be able to get the most they can get out of life. To have that, we need to focus on those common goals, and we need to work together so that whether you're talking support staff or across on the other side, I mentioned the other professional personnel that are involved, we need to have clarity in roles, and we have to have those roles set up to help the teacher, who ultimately has the accountability for the classroom, be successful in that classroom. We have to take our responsibilities and take them forward to balance that focus on those common goals. And if we can't focus on those common goals, my argument to you is that we're in trouble. After all the support that we've had, we started this morning talking about 40%. We started talking about only 30% of the public being supportive. And to paraphrase a sports figure from some time back, you ain't seen nothing yet when you start looking at the future. Because we are about to enter one of the biggest battles for resources that we have ever experienced in our lives or our careers. The demographics are not with us. In an aging society, the dominance of healthcare has the potential to absolutely swamp education and to absolutely swamp what are being seen as special interest groups within education, and inclusion could very easily wind up in there. Our friends in Nova Scotia tell us that by 2015, that's only a few years from now, folks, 2015, their student population in Nova Scotia will be equal to the student population in 1910. In other words, over 100 years back. At the same time, look what's happening to the aging sector of our population and the demands of that sector, and think about what that means in terms of the battle for resources. As I said, you ain't seen nothing yet, because it's going to get worse. Then we get the market interest in public services. When we look at the corporate sector and the private sector of this country, they don't have any markets to expand or to grow within North America. That's why they're looking at the dollars that are in public services as dollars that they believe they should be able to make profit from. And their first goal is profit, not the benefits for your students. That market interest in public services is growing, growing, growing. Add to that the shifting values, and those are shifting values within our society. We grew up in a time when everybody saw education as the way for us all to get ahead and us all to benefit ourselves. And I'm speaking about my age group, which is older than probably most people listening, to be honest. We've moved away from that. We now are looking at a society that views competition and greed as being of extreme importance. You know, it's quite common to hear things like, why should I pay for your child to take service and opportunity away from my child? Competition and greed, very, very strong at this point. Those are emerging trends around the globe, nationally and internationally. You've seen what's happened to research. The Canadian Association of University Teachers did some study recently about the 10 major research institutes across this country, found that 70% of their research is controlled by corporate interests, and those corporate interests not only have the financial control, but have the ability to either block reporting of the research project, or to change the report at the end as they see fit. I don't know, if your kids are going to rely on any kind of research, that doesn't sound very positive to me. Testing. Testing, they use the accountability agenda, but when you get into a heavy reliance on testing, what's tested counts. You know, as Isaac, it doesn't matter, years ago said, what's counted counts. The rest can go by the board. That doesn't bode well for inclusion. The public sector, including public education, is under intensive pressure right now because governments poured billions of dollars into corporate sector to bail them out in the recession. Now they're going to try to take that back out of the public sector. And add to that think tanks out there whose thinking is very, very narrow. I'm referring to people like the Conference Board, the Fraser Institute, the Atlantic Institute for Market Studies. They're all corporate funded 100%. They all support corporate interests, not public interests, and their influence is growing, growing, growing. I'm sounding very negative here, and we don't need to be negative. We're working together. We can keep our battle strong. We can get the resources we need. But we're going to have to be working together to actually make that happen. There is absolutely no room for complacency. We need to be one. I opened this brief presentation with an optical illusion which showed extremes, and I'm going to close this presentation with a second optical illusion. So if you're looking at the screen, what you see there right now is one of two things, or if you're lucky, you see both. You either see a woman, very determined look on her face, looking left, or you see an Inuit standing there in his fur coat, looking out into blackness. Again, the extremes. Well, we need to get together, see both perspectives, and to be able to look forward. Back to you, Michael.
Well, thank you very much, Calvin, for a sobering commentary and perspective on the challenges that we face, but I think we all appreciate you putting them on the table with such clarity. There are clearly going to be some choices to be made. I guess the question will be, is it either or can we tackle both of these agendas, the growing and competing demands for health resources, for example, one of the tensions you pointed out, and at the same time advance inclusive education for all learners?